Bucs fans, I'm your host, Daniel Morales, and welcome to another episode of Fear the Bay. We have a very stacked show for you today. So stacked, I can compare it to the Buccaneers wide receiver room. So the Buccaneers have some lofty goals for 2025, and spoiler alert, they include a Super Bowl. I attended 2 days of training camp. I'll tell you guys some training camp observations, some things that I picked up on. Baker Mayfield, he's in play for a contract extension soon. I'll talk about what that contract might look like. Fantasy football fans, if you haven't done your fantasy football draft, I will also give you guys a Buccaneers players fantasy guide. Who should you avoid? Who should you draft? And then lastly, I'm going to have AI predict the Madden 26 ratings for all of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers rookies. All that and more on this episode of Fear the Bay. Bucs fans, Buccaneers training camp is fully underway. Day 5 concluded today. It was the first day with pads on, so the Buccaneers are not in shorts and t-shirts anymore. This is more of that real practice where they get to hit each other. You know, there's real blocking going on, real pass rush attempts going on, light tackling going on. But Baker Mayfield, when he got a chance to talk to the media, explained that the goal for the Buccaneers this season, the goal is a Super Bowl. So the Buccaneers have very lofty goals, very high goals. If you remember Rachaad White in the offseason when he got a chance to talk to the media also, he explained that the Buccaneers are hungry. They're starving after the way that last year ended with the loss to the Washington Commanders in the playoffs. The only thing that scares me with the Buccaneers, I believe they're a Super Bowl contender. I believe that, just like Baker Mayfield believes, that they can compete with any team in the NFC. They can compete with the Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions. They can compete with the Lions, the Washington Commanders, the 49ers, the Rams. The only thing that concerns me with the Buccaneers are injuries. I believe injuries are going to be the only thing that hold them back. This morning, we got news from Pewter Report and Rick Stroud. They were the first to report this, that 4th round draft selection, David Walker, the pass rusher out of Central Arkansas, is out for the entire season with a torn ACL. Now, I recorded the moment where the trainers are coming up to him and he's moving over to the sideline. So let me show you guys that footage before I continue. So as you guys saw in the video, he went down. He's holding his lower leg, the calf, the hamstring area. And when he went down, you know, some of the players started taking a knee. You had the trainers come out. But what happened was there was a run play with Bucky Irving. So there was a run play with Bucky Irving to the left of the field from their perspective. And it was a short gain for Bucky Irving, maybe like 3-5 yards at most. So really a non-play, but then I turn over to the right side and I see David Walker on the ground, and he's holding that, you know, what the footage you saw, he's holding his lower leg there, his calf hamstring area. And I'm thinking, you know, this is, you know, likely a soft muscle tissue issue, like a hamstring or a cramping issue, something of that extent. So I'm thinking it's a very minor injury. It was extremely hot outside. I got toasted while I was standing outside in the sun. Extremely hot. Yesterday, Tampa hit 100 degrees for the first time since 1890. So record-breaking heat outside. You have the heat warnings. And I'm thinking, you know, this is a guy from Central Arkansas. He's not used to the extreme Florida, Tampa heat. And he went down, maybe didn't hydrate enough, you know. He was able to, so the reason I believe this is because he was able to get up on his own, you know. He was able to walk off to the sideline, trainers at his side. And I'm thinking, you know, this is a minor injury. Then the next practice, day number 4 training camp, which was on Sunday, he didn't participate, of course. They were running some tests on his injury. And then today we get the news that he tore his ACL. So he's out for the entire season. The rookie pass rusher is out before he even gets to take his first rep in even a preseason game. So this is a bit concerning, of course, when you have anybody go out, but especially one of your high-end draft picks, your day 3, high-end day 3 draft pick. So Sewell Opeta, he tore offensive guard for the Buccaneers. He tore his ACL last season in training camp, and this training camp he's still out nursing that torn ACL. So this is a very serious injury in sports. This is one of the most serious injuries that you can sustain have as an athlete. It's very, demoralizing, especially for a young player who has all the promise. He was flashing in practice. He had a few nice plays in practice, but he is going to be done. He's going to have to watch, his rookie season like a redshirt year, watch from the sidelines, learn from the sidelines as he rehabs. And, I believe he's in good faith, in good, good spirits. He posted on Instagram something to the extent, this is the Lord's plan, this is not my plan, or, it's something to that extent. But he feels, it appears in high spirits. So the question is, what happens now for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? He wasn't going to be a starter. He was going to be, one of those rotational guys. But the Buccaneers, they have their starters, Yaya Diaby, Hassan White as the starters. Behind them, you have Anthony Nelson. You have Chris Braswell, who he shined. He's a guy who I believe is going to take a good step forward next year. He had, a sack and a half last year, his rookie season, very quiet rookie season. And he's the guy who had 2 sacks and pretty early on in training camp, back to back. Now that was in t-shirts, t-shirt and shorts. What would he look like fully when the pads come on, which they came on today, but I didn't get a chance to go see practice today. So what would he look like when the pads actually come on, once we get to training camp, once we get to obviously the regular season? Will he actually take that improvement in year 2? The Buccaneers are going to have to rely on him heavily to take that big step forward, because you don't have David Walker anymore, who the Buccaneers are really excited to see. I know a lot of fans were really excited to see also. His outside linebackers coach, Larry Foote, was ecstatic when the Buccaneers drafted him. He said, "This is how you win Super Bowl." So the Buccaneers have, again, Yaya Diaby, you have Hassan White, you have Anthony Nelson, you have Chris Braswell. David Walker would have been in that mix as the pass rusher number 3 or 4, competing in that area, but now he's out. So you have guys like Marquise Watts, you have guys like Jose Ramirez, who have a chance to make this team now instead of making the practice squad. Joe Bucs fan threw out an idea of Shaq Barrett potentially coming back. The Buccaneers signing him. Tampa loves him. The Buccaneers brought him back last year out of retirement. He stated that, Tampa would be the only place that he would be willing to play for. When he came back last year, obviously he looked much slower than he was before. He's nowhere near that 2019 19 and a half sack year or that 2020 Super Bowl season. His prime days are far behind him. But if you wanted a veteran, an extra veteran in that room, he will be a guy who won't have to play much. You throw him sometimes out there in like third down situations, pass rush situations, when your 2 starters or top guys need a rest. I can see that as a potential option there. But the Buccaneers are going to be without David Walker, and they're going to have to rely heavily on Chris Braswell. So a lot of pressure on Chris Braswell now to take that next step forward. I do want to talk about some of the things that were going on in training camp. So day number 1 of training camp. So Baker Mayfield got picked off quite a few times on the first 2 days of practice. Day number 1 was probably the most notable because he had Antoine Winfield Jr. Catch 2 interceptions. I know one was tipped by Zion McCollum. It was intended for Mike Evans, and Antoine Winfield was able to pick it off. So he's back out there healthy. He looks really good. I got to see him in person. He's moving around. He's always Mr. Effort. Antoine Winfield is one of those guys who he's never going to give up on a play. He continues. Even when a play seems like it's over, he's going to continue to fight and try to fumble get the force a fumble. Try to make sure he tackles you out of bounds before you reach the end zone. So always a very good hustle guy, effort guy. It's good to see him back out there on the field. He's working now with his new partner, Tyke Smith, is out there. Sticking him with the defense, rookie Jacob Parrish, he was playing a lot as the starting nickel. So that was something that was really, I was really excited to see, because I believe in Jacob Parrish. He's a guy who can play man coverage. This is why the Buccaneers brought him in, him and Benjamin Morrison, because I don't believe, Todd Bowles wants to play soft zone anymore. He wants to rush with 4 and he rely on his corners, his defensive back, to be able to play man-to-man, closer, tight coverage. But rookie Jacob Parrish was starting at nickel. You have Christian Izien playing safety for the most part with the second team. Benjamin Morrison, he's been playing primarily with the second team. Jamel Dean has been getting the CB2 reps over the rookie Benjamin Morrison. But Benjamin Morrison, he had a pick against, I believe it was Kyle Trask on day number 2. And then day number 3, when I was there, Kyle Trask, he threw a deep ball to Cameron Johnson, and Benjamin Morrison got beat pretty deep. So, this is what to be expected from a rookie corner. You're going to have those ups and downs. I think, today, Greg Allman reported that he was sharing some first team reps with Jamel Dean. So they were, putting him in and out with the first team. So as he gets more reps at the NFL level, gets to go against guys like Mike Evans, of course, a future Hall of Famer, gets to go against guys like Jalen McMillan, Emeka Buka. He's gonna get better over time. I don't think there's a better wide receiver. If you're a rookie corner, if I was a rookie corner, I don't think there's a better team to be on than the Buccaneers at this point with all the weapons they have at their disposal at the wide receiver position, even with Chris Godwin out. So you're gonna look bad at times in practice, but you're gonna look good in the long run because all the valuable reps you're receiving in a practice, and you're going up against Mike Evans, future Hall of Famer, eventually Chris Godwin, he comes back. Let's see the young wide receivers. So I think for me, the standout player, if there is one standout player who stood out to me the most, it would be Tez Johnson. I'm really excited about Tez Johnson. Now, he's a 7th round draft pick. How many reps on offense is he actually going to get? How many times is the ball going to go his way? When you think again about how many weapons this team has on offense with Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Cade Otton, Devin Cope look really nice out there. He has some really good catches. You can see his athleticism starting to come out. He feels more confident, it appears. So Devin Cope is a guy who I'm really excited to see. Baker Mayfield talked about Devin Cope being the athletic tight end in the room. He's the athletic guy. He's really fast. And I'm really excited to see what Devin Cope can do in year 2, taking that next step forward. But the rookie wide receivers really stood out to me. Tez Johnson and Emeka Buka. I'm going to talk about Tez Johnson first. I've said this before, but this is going to be my comp here. Tez Johnson is the Bucky Irving of the wide receiver position. He's going to be extremely dangerous. I saw him on a few punt returns. He's super shifty. I posted those videos on X and Instagram and in YouTube Shorts also, so you can see some of those there. But he's so shifty. He's so quick in short areas. He's very fast. Now, he ran a 4.51 40. But he doesn't play like you're in a 4.51 40. He's so quick out there. He's so shifty. It's like if he's playing Madden and with like 99 speed and 99 acceleration. It's extremely, extremely fun to watch. I can see him being a gadget player for Josh Grizzard and being the primary punt returner. There's a competition at the punt returner position. They have Emeka Buka out there also, Trey Palmer, Cameron Johnson. I believe Raheem Jarrett has taken a few punt return reps also. So there's a bit of competition there. But I believe Tez Johnson, he's looked the most impressive. There's been one guy, again, who's been that standout player for me. It's been Tez Johnson. He looks really, really, really special. Not what you'd expect from a 7th round pick. I don't think he's your traditional 7th round pick. He looks really good out there. Again, when the regular season comes, how much is going to be able to produce? He's far down on the depth chart. He'll make this team, but he's far down on the depth chart. How many times is the ball going to go his way? So that's something I don't know. I don't think he's going to have a lot of offensive production in year 1, but he's going to be a guy who flashes. He shows you that potential, who you can use in creative ways. Josh Grizzard can use in creative ways in his offense. Emeka Buka basically catching everything that went his way. A lot of drag routes, a lot of crossing routes for Emeka Buka. I believe there was one day we had over 10 targets go his way. But he's been a guy who the Buccaneers really love. They say he's a very smart guy. He's already learned the bulk of this offense. He could play all 3 wide receiver positions. So the Buccaneers have been having him as the slot wide receiver with Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan on the outside. So he's filling that Chris Godwin role as Chris Godwin recovers from his dislocated ankle injury from week 7 against the Baltimore Ravens. So he's really that Emeka Egbuka is really that Chris Godwin, and he talked to the media today and talked about the fact that Chris Godwin has really been a mentor. He can go to Chris Godwin any question he has. Chris Godwin is always there to answer whatever question he has, even if it's about life and personal matters. So he has that mentor in the room with him. Also, Mike Evans, always another mentor, but since he's playing the Chris Godwin role in this offense as of right now, it's really good to have Chris Godwin there over his shoulder, talking to him, helping him out, showing him the way in the NFL. Jalen McMillan, I know he had a few drops on Sunday. I wasn't able to attend Sunday's practice, but he had a few drops on Sunday. But he looked good to me when I got to saw him on day 2 and day 3. Had a nice deep ball. I believe he was working against Jacob Parrish, but he had a nice deep ball down the field, 30-plus yards. Nice reception there. So the Buccaneers have a lot of young talent on this roster at the wide receiver position. A lot of guys who stood out to me. Those are really the rookie wide receivers, young wide receivers, including even Jalen McMillan. Those were the guys who were the standout players for me in training camp. So overall, the Buccaneers, they need to stay healthy. If they want to really be a Super Bowl contender at the end of the year, what they need to do is they need to make sure that they can stay healthy somehow, fight the injury bug as much as they can. Now, they are going to get Tristan Wirfs back. He's going to be out, again, likely for the first 4 games. If he's put on the PP list to begin the season, he's going to miss the first 4 games. You have Charlie Heck, who's going to fill his role. And we don't know what Charlie Heck is going to look like until, we get to see him continuously in pads because, as Todd Bowles stated, when there's just T-shirts and shorts, that this is the football I got to see on day 2 and day 3, just T-shirts and shorts, no pads. The edge rushers have a large advantage over the offensive linemen because the offensive linemen can't hold. They can't really get a grip on the pass rushers. So a lot of times, if the edge rusher gets an angle, he's going to get close to the quarterback. So this is why also I'm a little bit hesitant, to fully praise Chris Braswell for his 2-sack day because of the fact that they were running around in shorts and T-shirts. Benjamin Chikwama, I saw him out there. Wasn't really impressed. Again, he's a project. He's a developmental guy, the undrafted free agent out of Georgia State. He's a guy who's going to develop for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Has a bit of an odd stance coming out. He got beat pretty badly. So there was a play where Sterling Shepard caught a nice sideline catch. And if you keep a look on, I posted this on my X and my Instagram also. If you keep a look on Ben Chikwama and Yaya Diaby, Ben Chikwama gets beat horribly by Yaya Diaby, who really looked good. He's flashing out there in training camp also. So the Buccaneers are still looking for offensive line depth. They're still looking at potential tackles to bring in. They brought in a tackle, undrafted free agent 2024 from the Chargers. Also, they brought in veteran offensive guard Michael Jordan, not the NBA All-Star, GOAT of all time, Michael Jordan, but the offensive guard, Michael Jordan, and I'm not really a big fan of that move. Now, this doesn't define your career, but Michael Jordan was involved in the devastating leg injury to Joe Burrow in his rookie season in 2020, where he got bull rushed and he falls into the leg of Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow was out for the entire season. Not something that you want to happen. So if I was a general manager, I wouldn't, after seeing what happened with the Joe Burrow injury in 2020, I wouldn't allow him to be on my team, be anywhere close to my quarterback number 1. But again, the Buccaneers are a Super Bowl contender team. I was very impressed with what I saw out there out of this team. They're a very close team, very tight-knit team. They play together. They're truly a team. They're out there after every play. They're celebrating with each other. You can see they're having fun out there, so that was really nice to see. But the Buccaneers, again, if they want to be a Super Bowl contender late in the year, they're going to have to find a way to fight the injury bug, which is biting them pretty hard already, and we're not even to week 1. Let's get to our 3 headlines. Bucs fans, want to know how you can help this channel, Fear the Big, grow and expand? All you have to do is 3 simple things: like, subscribe, and comment. They're quick, they're simple things to do, they're free, and what it does is it helps boost out this content to more
Buccaneers fans like yourself. So when YouTube sees you liking, subscribing, and engaging with the content, they boost this content out to more viewers like yourself. So please, if you can, like, subscribe, and comment. That helps me out a lot. And let's get back to the video. We don't want to miss that.
Baker Mayfield went from being the #1 overall pick to being cast aside by the Cleveland Browns, being cut by the Carolina Panthers. He had his short tenure in the Rams with the Los Angeles Rams. And then he goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, of course, in 2023, filling in for Tom Brady once Tom Brady retired. The Buccaneers signed him for a 1-year, $4 million prove-it deal. He had to beat Kyle Trask for the starting job. He does that, of course. And now he's the franchise quarterback, the true QB1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And not just for now, for the long term. So there's a story from The Atlantic written by Jeff Howe. And he explains that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are looking to extend Baker Mayfield. So Baker Mayfield is going to be the QB1 in Tampa for a very long time, it appears. So there is a quote from general manager Jason Light, and I'll read that now. He said, "I love Baker. I love everything he's done for us." Buccaneers general manager Jason Light told The Atlantic, "The goal for us is for Baker to continue to be the player that he is, and at some point we reach an extension when that time when the time is right, and he continues to be our quarterback for a long time. That's the goal." So the Buccaneers general manager Jason Light makes it clear they want to extend Baker Mayfield. So in 2023, he signed that 1-year, $4 million prove-it deal. Had to beat out Kyle Trask again. Then the Buccaneers signed him in 2024 to a 3-year, $100 million contract. So the average salary that he makes, the average yearly salary is about $33 million, okay? So when we look at what would his next contract possibly look like, you're looking at north of 45, north of 50. So the Buccaneers probably want to get ahead of this also before the quarterback market skyrockets even higher. So let's go through the highest average yearly salary for top quarterbacks. So Dak Prescott tops the list. He makes $60 million a year, which is crazy. Jordan Love. So you have a few guys who are making $55 million in that $55 million bracket. You have Jordan Love. You have Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You got Joe Burrow with the Cincinnati Bengals. And you got the reigning MVP, Josh Allen. So all those guys are making $55 million a year. Then you have some guys in that $53 million a year bracket. That's Tua, that's Jared Goff, that's Brock Purdy. And then you have Justin Herbert, you have Lamar Jackson making $52 million a year. So Baker Mayfield is a top 10 quarterback in this league. You can look at the stats, and that would tell you more than enough the arguments made there. Besides interceptions, but look at yards, look at completion percentage, look at third down win rate, look at touchdowns. So he is a top 10 quarterback in this league. And what will that next contract look like is probably going to be around $55 million a year for that average yearly salary. So the Buccaneers are going to have to pay him pretty heavily. But again, this seems like a very high number, and it really is. These guys, for the most part, are grossly overpaid for the you're playing a game. But this is the league. These guys, they work hard, and this is the contracts. This is what they're worth. The market tells them this is what they're worth. So you're looking at $55 million a year for Baker Mayfield, maybe north of that if the market goes up even higher. But the Buccaneers likely want to sign him, extend him earlier than later. Again, you don't want the market to hit, when you could have got Baker Mayfield at 52, 53, 55, and now you waited, and now you have to sign Baker to a $60 million deal or $65 million deal once the quarterback market skyrockets even higher here. So, the Buccaneers, they made it known Baker Mayfield is their franchise quarterback. He is their QB1. The Buccaneers love him, not just the front office, not just the coaches, but the players. When Charlie Heck, who's going to fill in for Tristan Wirfs, as Tristan Wirfs is rehabbing from that right knee injury, when he got a chance to talk to the media, he explained that Baker Mayfield is the type of quarterback that you want to play for as an offensive lineman, because he extends plays. He's gritty. When he's working out and warming up in before practice, he's always or often around the offensive lineman. He's real gritty, of course. He's a guy with a lot of moxie. He's a guy that you want to play for as an offensive lineman. Charlie Heck stated that he's a guy that you would go to war for. So the players love him. The coaches love him. The front office loves him. The fans love him. When I got a chance to go to day 3 of Buccaneers training camp, they had a Gus Swayze lookalike concert, and the Buccaneers fans, they loved seeing that experience. They were dressing up as Gus Swayze, of course. That's Baker Mayfield's, disguise, his undercover boss type disguise that he wore for the Amazon show. But everybody loves Baker Mayfield in Tampa. He's going to stick around. He is the franchise quarterback, the QB1 for Tampa. And again, what would that contract look like? You're looking at $52, $53, $55 million a year if you can sign him before that quarterback market skyrockets even higher. Let's get to our next headline. If you haven't done your fantasy football draft yet, and you want to know which Tampa Bay Buccaneers players should I draft, which players should I stay away from, how are they going to project, I'm going to go over kind of like a fantasy football guide for Bucs fans here for specific Bucs players. I'm going to talk about Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving, Rachaad White, Chris Godwin, Emeka Buka. You have Sterling Shepard, Tej Johnson, Cade Otton. So I'm going to go over quite a few players, going to tell you guys how they're projected to do. I'm using ESPN Fantasy Football's projections for 2025, and all these projections are for PPR leagues. So let's start off with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is projected to be the QB7, and I agree here. That's probably about the range I would have him at. So who's in front of Baker Mayfield? You have the reigning MVP, Josh Allen. You have at QB2, you have Lamar Jackson. Both of those guys always really, really good in fantasy football. You can't go wrong there. Jaden Daniels from the Washington Commanders as a QB3, looking to build on the success he had last year as a rookie. Of course, he ended the Tampa Bay Buccaneers season last year in the playoffs. The reigning Super Bowl champion, Jalen Hurts, coming in as the QB4. You have Joe Burrow as the QB5, Patrick Mahomes as the QB6, and now you have Baker Mayfield as the QB7. So last year, let's go through Baker Mayfield's stat line real quick for 2024. He had 4,500 passing yards, 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Of course, that was kind of like the thorn in his overall play. 60 carries, 378 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns for a total of 365.8 fantasy football points. Now, ESPN has him projected taking a bit of a dip in terms of overall fantasy points. Again, he had 365 fantasy football points last year. He's taking a dip now. ESPN projects him to have 310 fantasy football points. Maybe this, and let's go through his stat line real quick. So 4,167 passing yards, 33 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 62 carries, 320 rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, so maybe this dip that ESPN has him projected taking is because of the fact that, new offensive coordinator Josh Grizzard is going to have to learn this whole new offense, all this. Josh Grizzard was with the team last year. He was the third down pass specialist. So it's not like Baker Mayfield and the players have said this. They're not learning a new offense. Now, some of the terminology, some of the verbiage is a bit different, but the overall offense is basically the same. And this offense under Grizzard is going to have a deep down the field pass element that we haven't seen under Liam Cohen and under Dave Canales. So we're going to see more vertical, shots down the field with Grizzard in. So I wouldn't have them, I think he's going to have probably about 4,300 yards, higher end 30s for touchdowns, if not 40, maybe 38, 39 passing touchdowns. Interceptions, if he can get those interceptions down to 8 to 10 interceptions, I think you're looking at a very good year for Baker Mayfield, not just in fantasy, but in real life also. Possibly a dark horse candidate for MVP. So overall, I agree with this QB7, ranking projection for Baker Mayfield. Now let's go to Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving is so shifty. He's really, really, really good. So ESPN has him projected as the RB9, who's above Bucky Irving. You have Bijan Robinson, who recently corrected people how you say his name. It's not Bijan, it's Bijan. Bijan Robinson. You have RB2 is Saquon Barkley coming off of his Super Bowl. RB3 is Jahmyr Gibbs. RB4 is Christian McCaffrey. RB5 is Ashton Genty, rookie from Boise State. You have HN from the Miami Dolphins as your RB6. Jonathan Taylor as RB7. Veteran Josh Jacobs as the RB8. And now you have Bucky Irving as the RB9. So Bucky Irving, I would have him slightly a bit higher. Probably, he's going to be a fringe top 5 fantasy football running back here. My only concern with Bucky Irving isn't even about Bucky Irving. I'll explain that in a minute. But ESPN has him projected, now he's fully starting. There's no question. Last year he had to win the starting job against Rachaad White in the season. Now he doesn't have to win it. He is the RB1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's go over his stat line. So in 2024, he had 1,122 rushing yards, 207 carries, which he had 5.4 yards per carry, 8 total rushing touchdowns, 47 receptions, 392 receiving yards, 0 receiving touchdowns, for a total of 244.4 fantasy points. In 2025, ESPN has him projected taking an increase in carries because he is now the full-time starter for the Buccaneers. Rachaad White will get some playing time, but Bucky Irving is the full-time starter. He's going to increase his carries to 263. Have an increase in terms of overall rushing yardage to 1,236. Take a dip in the average rushing attempt or average yards per run. He's going to have 4.7 yards per run. He stays the same in terms of touchdowns, having 8 touchdowns again this year, 53 receptions, 410 yards, and having 3 rushing touchdowns for a total of 282.56 fantasy football points. Now, again, ESPN has him as the RB9. I would kind of have him as the RB5. I think he's a fringe RB5, but not the RB6. I think he's going to have a really good year if he can stay healthy. My concern, as I was hinting to, is not even with Bucky Irving, it's with Tristan Wirfs being out. Is the run game going to be affected with Tristan Wirfs being out, possibly for the first 4 games of the season? You're taking a huge dip in terms of production going from Tristan Wirfs, who even Charlie Heck, who's going to fill in his role, unless the Buccaneers sign somebody or he gets beat out, is going to fill in the role at left tackle for Tristan Wirfs. Charlie Heck has stated that Tristan Wirfs is the best offensive tackle in the league, and you're not going to get a single argument from me there going against the contrary there. So I would have Bucky Irving as the RB6, fringe RB5. Let's go down to Rachaad White. Rachaad White is projected to be the RB36. So he's projected to have 116 carries, 496 overall rushing yards, 3 touchdowns. In the passing game, I think this is where he's probably going to excel most as the pass. He's the best pass catching running back on this team, and also the best pass blocking running back on this team. Bucky Irving is a willing blocker, more than willing blocker, but he has a bit of a smaller frame, which makes it a bit difficult for him. But Rachaad White is predicted to have a total of 129.94 fantasy football points. So he's not the starter anymore. If you can get him, in those later rounds, have him on your bench. If Bucky Irving gets hurt, you plug him in. He's going to give you some good production there. Let's go now to the wide receivers. So Mike Evans is projected to be the wide receiver 19. I think he's going to be a top 20 wide receiver, if not a top 15 fantasy football wide receiver. So last year in 2024, Mike Evans had 110 targets, 74 receptions, 1,004 yards. He had 11 touchdowns for a total of 240.4 fantasy football points. ESPN has him basically around the same overall fantasy football points. He's projected to have 237.16 fantasy football points, 122 targets, 80 receptions, 1,030 yards, and 9 touchdowns. So he's really only taken a dip in touchdowns, going from 11 to 9. Now he is getting older, but I get a chance to again see him out there and practice for two days back to back, and he's not slowing down. He is the same Mike Evans that you've seen over the past few years. Still, making plays out there, still looking good. Let's read Mike Evans's Fantasy Football 2025 Outlook. ESPN states that Evans is back for his age 32 campaign, having now put up 1,000 plus receiving yards in 11 straight seasons to begin his career. I think he's going to have another 1K yard season to fully break Jerry Rice's consecutive 1,000 yard record. The future Hall of Famer missed 3 games in 2024. Remember, he went down the same as that game that Chris Godwin went down in week 7 against the Baltimore Ravens last year with his hamstring injury, but still scored double-digit touchdowns for the 4th time in 5 seasons. Incredibly, Evans has never finished a season worse than the 23rd in fantasy football points. Age aside, there are some concerns here as Evans was very boom or bust in 2024, having posted 6 top 10 fantasy football outings, while also falling short of 12 points in 7 of his other 8 games. He also benefited massively from Chris Godwin's season-ending injury, averaging 6.3 targets and 13.6 fantasy football points with him, but 9.1 targets and 20.7 points per game without Chris Godwin. So, despite the concerns, Evans hasn't shown signs of slowing down and has a good quarterback in Baker Mayfield. He's a fringe fantasy wide receiver too. I agree with that. He's your fantasy football wide receiver too. And if you want to put him as your slot, if you have a couple other better wide receivers, like in terms of, you have a Justin Jefferson, you have guys like that who are going to give you more fantasy production. He could be your wide receiver too, or your flex option here. I agree with these projections. He's going to be, again, he's going to be in the top 20, somewhere in the top 20, as they stated. He's never fallen below wide receiver 23 for a season. Chris Godwin, again, I think people forget how good Chris Godwin was before he was injured. He had 576 receiving yards, 50 receptions, 62 targets, 5 touchdowns for a total of 137.8 fantasy football points. I believe he was the wide receiver 1 heading into week 7. He was doing really good. I believe he's also number 1 in terms of overall receiving yards before he was injured. So he was on a tear. He was doing really, really, really good. ESPN has him projected to have 100 targets, 74 receptions, 844 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns for a total of 192.82 fantasy football points. If you can draft Chris Godwin, you're going to obviously experience, a bit of a time where you cannot use him because he's out with his rehabbing his dislocated ankle injury. But if you can draft Chris Godwin, stash him. Once he comes back, don't play him right away because he has to get back in football shape. He has to kick off the rust. But once you see him start performing to the normal Chris Godwin levels, put him back in your lineup and you are not going to regret it. So let's look at a few of the younger wide receivers on this roster. Emeka Egbuka is who we're going to cover next. Emeka Egbuka is projected to be wide receiver 52. So he's also one of those guys who could potentially be one of those offensive rookies of the year. So he's one of those guys who can give you really good production. And right now, like I've stated before, he's playing in the slot. He's filling Chris Godwin's shoes, and he looks really good out there. He was catching basically almost everything that was thrown his way. I believe one day in practice, he had over 10 targets, 10 passes go his way. So Emeka Egbuka is a player to draft if you can and look out for. Maybe he's not going to give you production right away in week 1, 2, 3, but as he progresses, as he continues to improve, as he gets used to NFL speed, he's going to be a guy who produces. So ESPN projects that he's going to have 77 targets, 49 receptions, 642 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns for a total of 147 fantasy football points. The only thing with Emeka Egbuka is I don't know who's going to produce more. Is it going to be Emeka Egbuka or is it going to be Jalen McMillan, or are they going to be about the same overall in terms of fantasy production? So again, you have Emeka Egbuka inside, you have Jalen McMillan outside. So you have Emeka Egbuka playing the slot role, taking Chris Godwin's role as he recovers, and Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan on the outside. So Jalen McMillan, he's coming off his 8 touchdown season. He's projected to be the wide receiver 69. I don't know. I think he's going to build on. Josh Grizzard is excited to see him too in year 2 and his upside, but I think he's going to build on the season he had last year and be really consistent. Everybody keeps talking about the fact that, he's got it now. He's got it, mentally, physically, he's really, I think he's primed to be, one of those breakout candidates at the wide receiver position. He did a really good job last year, again, with 8 touchdowns. I want to see how he improves in year 2. Out of practice, he had a really nice deep ball working against Jacob Parrish in day 3. So let's read his stat line from last year. So last year he had 58 targets, 37 receptions, 461 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns for a total of 135.4 fantasy football points. This year he's projected to have 51 targets, 32 receptions, 409 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns, for a total of 96.29. So I think these are a bit low for him overall. But again, there is only one football. Who's going to get the majority of the targets? Who's going to get the lion's share of targets? Who's going to have more production outright is going to be Jalen McMillan, who's in year 2, or is going to be Emeka Egbuka, who's filling in for Chris Godwin. So these guys are really close for me. So ESPN has Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver, 52, Jalen McMillan as the wide receiver, 69. I think they're really close, and I'm interested to see which one is going to be more productive early on as Chris Godwin is out. Sterling Shepard is projected to be the wide receiver, 182. So ESPN they don't even have real stats for him here. They have him earning 1 fantasy football point. I don't think they're confident he's going to make the team. I'm confident he's going to make the team. I think it's real likely that he'll make the team, especially with Chris Godwin out, if he's going to be on the PUP list and you need an extra wide receiver. But Sterling Shepard, he looked good out there in practice, had a really nice sideline snag that I posted on X and Instagram, and it was also on the day 3 highlights. And then lastly, Tez Johnson. So Tez Johnson, real shifty, like I said before, Bucky Irving at the wide receiver position, basically. The problem is he's going to be on the bottom of this depth chart. How realistic is it that, Ted Johnson is going to be real productive in fantasy? Now, I do think he's going to be really nice for the Buccaneers in special teams as the punt returner, on Josh Grizzard's offense also as like a gadget player. He can, move around and have in motion and do some, behind the line screens and things. But I wouldn't draft Sterling Shepard. I wouldn't draft Tez Johnson. Stay away from them if you can. And then Cade Otton. So Cade Otton is projected to be the tight end 24. So he's basically projected to have about the same stat line that he had last year. He had 87 targets last year, 59 receptions, 600 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns for a total of 140 fantasy football points. ESPN has him projected at 137.66 fantasy football points. So, slight dip in targets to 77, slight dips in receptions, slight dip in yards. He projected to earn 554 receiving yards, but an increase in touchdowns going from 4 to 5. So overall, I agree with the majority. I agree with the tight end 24. If he could be, if you have, he could be your tight end too. I think he will be real productive there. There's only, again, one football. The Buccaneers have a lot of weapons on this offense, and once Chris Godwin gets back, they're fully loaded at the wide receiver position. You have Bucky Irving, you have Rachaad White. So, if you can get Cade Otton as your tight end too, he'll be, that would be a really nice pickup there. He's like a low, they have him as a low tight end 2, fringe tight end 2 kind of player. But overall, I agree with these projections. If you can, again, draft Baker Mayfield, draft Bucky Irving, draft Mike Evans, get Chris Godwin, stash him. Don't play him right away once he gets back. Wait for him to get that rust off. But fully, for the most part, I agree with these projections. Besides Bucky Irving, I believe he should be, RB5, RB6 in that range, not RB9. So overall, pretty good there. Thank you guys, and let's get to our next headline. So Madden 26 is coming out real soon in August, And EA Sports has decided to do kind of this staggered release of the Madden ratings. So the ratings for all players will come out, but there's a rollout. So today they revealed all of the people, all the players who are in the 99 club. So the players who are the 99 overall. Tomorrow they're going to reveal the rookies. So July 29th, they'll reveal the rookie ratings. So all rookie ratings for all NFL teams will be revealed. July 30th, all offensive players, the reveal for all offensive players, we'll get to see Mike Evans, what is his rating? Baker Mayfield was his rating, Bucky Irving. July 31st, you get all the defensive players, so guys like Antoine Winfield Jr., how they're going to have him rated after a injured, and down year in 2024. Levante David, Clyde Jacansey, Vita Vea. So the defensive players will be revealed on July 31st. And on August 1st, we get the full reveal of all superstar X factors, all those extra things there. But what I want to do is I wanted to have AI predict what will all Buccaneers draft picks in 2025. So we're talking about Emeka Buka all the way down to Ted Johnson. What will be their Madden rating? So again, these are not official. This is just what AI predicts is going to be the Madden ratings for the Buccaneers rookie class this year. And what AI am I using? I'm using Grok AI of XAI. So Grok is going to predict the ratings for the players, speed ratings, and some really specific like man coverage grade for Benjamin Morrison, route running for Emeka Buka. And I asked Grok, what is the prediction, the outlook for their 2025? So how do you believe they're going to do in 2025? AI is going to predict that also. Okay, so I want to see how close AI can actually get to the real rating. So I'll compare it once that is released. But I want to see, does it get close? Is AI smart enough to get it that close to the actual ratings to get at predicting this type of stuff? So let's start off with Emeka Buka, the first round wide receiver out of Ohio State. So when Emeka Buka was drafted, you had a lot of Bucs fans, scratching their head a bit because even me, I thought the Buccaneers were going to go defense, and the Buccaneers actually surprised everybody and went on the offense. Now, if you were listening to Todd Bowles and Jason Light throughout the offseason, they were explaining that if they see an offensive guy that they don't want to pass up on, they're going to go after him. So the Buccaneers at number 19 overall had about 3 or 4 guys who they were very confident in. Todd Bowles explained this recently, and Emeka Buka was at the top of their list. So he was their favorite out of the bunch. Emeka Buka, again, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And at the time, a lot of people were saying, this is a luxury pick. Why did the Buccaneers go after a wide receiver when they already have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, Jalen Millen, and not a defensive player who could help out this team, like an inside linebacker or an edge rusher who could help out this team and be more effective. Now, Todd Bowles shut down the luxury talk pick this week also. He explained that the Buccaneers, they don't go after luxury. They go after good players, great players who they want to play. So they want to get them out on the field. They don't go for luxuries. They draft people that they want to play. They believe they're good players, and they want to put them out there on the field to produce. So Emeka Buka, first round draft pick. AI predicts that he'll have a 78 overall rating. So for a rookie, that's pretty good. I think he has the potential to be the wide receiver 1 of this entire draft class. He looks really polished out there on the field. He looks really good. Really nice route running. He's a smart guy. So 78 overall rating. And again, this is kind of like in Madden, this is kind of like where rookies all start off, and then they do good, they go up. Well, if you're a first round draft pick, this is a good kind of, starting point for a first round draft pick. If he does really well, his Madden rating goes up throughout the season. If he starts to do bad, a lot of drops, things like that, his Madden rating goes down. AI predicts that his speed rating is going to be a 92 and his acceleration is going to be a 90. Some position-specific ratings. His catch rating is a 85 overall. Route running, 88 overall. So in the game, you have short route running, medium route running, deep ball route running. Here it just has like kind of a general average, an 88 overall average, and awareness an 80. So I think that's pretty solid for Emeka Buka. I think it's probably going to be around there. If not 78, then maybe like a 77, 76 overall rating. So I think it's going to be pretty close, if not spot on. Let's go now to second round draft pick Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, cornerback. He has a 75 overall rating. That is the prediction that Grok gives for Benjamin Morrison. 91 speed rating, 89 acceleration. Now, his man coverage grade is an 85, and his zone coverage grade is predicted to be an 80. So I agree with this one here. I believe that both Benjamin Morris and Jacob Parrish are going to have a higher man coverage grade than they have a zone coverage grade. I think this is, again, part of the reason why the Buccaneers drafted both of these players. You can't play man-to-man defense if you don't have corners to play man-to-man defense. So I think we're going to see a bit of a, Todd Bowles going to distance himself from the soft zone that we've seen over the last few years. I don't ever think he wants to play soft zone. I think, the players that he had, you have a lack of pass rush, so you have to play soft zone at times. I believe that's what he feels. But now I believe the Buccaneers are going to be with a rush with 4 when you have Hassan Reddick, Yaya Diaby, and in the middle you have Vita Vea and you have Kalijah Kancey. You can rush with 4, and you can have those guys who know how to play man coverage in the back end hold it down. So he has a 75 tackle grade also. So I believe that's pretty fair again for Benjamin Morris. And for the most part, most of these are going to be pretty spot on. Let's go now to 3rd round draft pick Jacob Parrish from Kansas State. Corner also. He's been playing primarily in the nickel as the team's starting nickel. So I think he has a very strong, strong likelihood that he'll be the starting nickel corner for this team once the season actually begins. AI predicts that he's going to have a 72 overall rating, 90 speed, 88 acceleration. His man coverage grade is slightly lower than Benjamin Morrison. Benjamin Morrison, again, had an 85 overall matter rating for man coverage. Jacob Parrish has an 82 overall man coverage grade. His zone coverage grade is a 78, and then tackle grade is a 70. So I think the tackle grade is a little bit low. Jacob Parrish is a willing block tackler. He's a bit of a smaller guy, a bit of a smaller corner than the Buccaneers traditionally like when you think about Jamel Dean, Zy McCollum, Carlton Davis. But Jacob Parrish, he's an athletic guy. He's a gritty guy, physical corner, willing to stick his nose in there and make a big tackle behind the line of scrimmage, all this stuff. So he's a guy who's a smaller guy, but he's not scared to lay a hit on a receiver or a running back. Then we have 4th round draft pick David Walker, who we now know is going to be out for the entire season this year. But Madden predicted that he would have received a 70 overall rating, 85 speed, 87 acceleration. His finesse grade was predicted to be an 80. Power moves predicted to be 75. Pursuit 78. So again, we won't get to see. You can play with David Walker in Madden, but you won't be able to see David Walker in person because he'll be out for the entire season. Hopefully, he recovers quickly and we get to see him next year fully to see what can he do. He was a promising pass rusher in training camp. He looked good. Very disappointing that we don't get a chance to actually see the rookie this year. Now we have 5th round draft pick Elijah Roberts, who is primarily going to be a defensive lineman for the Buccaneers, not a pass rusher. He is athletic enough to do both, but the Buccaneers are going to have him down on the line of scrimmage on the defensive line. Grok predicts he's going to have a 68 overall rating. His speed is going to be a 78. 80 acceleration. His block shedding, which is really important to get to the quarterback in Madden, and also to stop run plays, is a 75. His strength is a 70, so a bit low. And tackle grade is a 72 overall. So the EA isn't too high on Elijah Roberts, but those overall ratings make sense for a 5th round pick who is going to need time to develop and get to all these late round picks. You just like some attribute about them for the most part. So you draft them and you hope that you can develop them man down. You hope that you can develop them. Let's go now to 7th round draft pick Tez Johnson. I was, again, really impressed by Tez Johnson. It's like he's playing Madden out there with 99 speed, 99 acceleration. He's so shifty. He's the Bucky Irvin, the wide receiver position. He's everywhere on the field, moving around. You can't catch him. Grok predicts that Tez Johnson is going to have a 65 overall rating, 88 speed, 86 acceleration. Those are a bit low for a wide receiver in Madden, but he ran a 4.51, so that's what they're going off of. His catch rating is predicted to be a 75 overall. His route running, the average 78 overall, and his awareness 70. So for the most part, I think Tez Johnson would be in Madden. If you play franchise mode, if you draft one of those players in the late rounds and they end up being like a hidden gem, it has like a question mark. They have the different levels of a players like normal, star, superstar, X factor. He'll be one of those players that have, the hidden gem icon. I believe he's going to be a lot better than a 65 overall. The problem is how much he's going to actually be able to produce with such a loaded wide receiver room. He's going to produce a lot on special teams. I can see him winning, again, the punt return position. So also, I asked Grok to predict how each player would do for the Buccaneers in 2025. So let's go through every single one of those real quick. So Emeka Buka, let's read his 2025 season prediction. So Emeka is set to make an incredible impact, leading the Buccaneers potentially in receiving yards as a rookie. So I don't see that. I see Mike Evans leading the team in receiving yards, but it's not out of the question. He could be one of those offensive rookie of the years. He could be probably the best wide receiver in this draft class. So I wouldn't rule out the potential of him leading the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in receiving yards. Chris Godwin, who, Mecca's playing that Chris Godwin role again, while he's rehabbing from the ankle injury. But Chris Godwin, before he went down, I believe he had more yards than Mike Evans. And, he was in the top end, if not the top receiver in yards entering week 7 before he was injured. So his versatile skill set should make him a go-to target, helping him establish himself as a key offensive weapon in his debut season. So I think he's already building trust with Baker Mayfield. So I can definitely see him being a go-to target, as Grok predicts here, for Baker Mayfield, and being a very, very valuable asset for the Buccaneers on offense. Again, as Todd Bowles has explained, looking at it now, he is not a luxury pick. He was a pick of need. All right, so he was the best player available also, they believe. So Benjamin Morrison, second round pick. Grok predicts that Morrison should compete for a starting role, which is correct. He's competing with Jamel Dean, but Jamel Dean is edging him out, taking most of the first team reps, and could notch a few interceptions in his rookie year in practice. He had, I saw one against Kyle Trask, I believe. His coverage skills will help him adapt quickly, making him a valuable piece in the Buccaneers secondary. So again, he's competing with Jamel Dean, but if Jamel Dean ends up winning the starting job and he gets injured at some point in the season, Benjamin Morrison will step in, and if he does good while Jamel Dean is out, maybe they resort to just sticking with Benjamin Morrison as the CB2 for their defense. Let's go now. Jacob Parrish, third round pick. So his 2025 season prediction, Parrish is likely to see significant playing time in the nickel role, which is correct. It appears that he's going to be the starting nickel. Now, we have a long way from week 1, but he's taking the primary bulk of the starting nickel reps with the first team, and could evolve into a dependable starter down the line. His rookie year will be a growth period, but he has the potential to contribute meaningfully. So he got beat by Jalen McMillan down the field. Benjamin Morrison also got beat by Cameron Johnson down the field. So you're going to see an up and down year. That's why for a rookie corner, you're going to have these growth periods where they have times where they look good. They have times where they get beat pretty badly. This is just, this is their first season. It's they're going to have that welcome to the NFL moment when they go up against a real, NFL caliber, wide receiver. But I'm excited to see how both these guys do. And I believe that the predictions so far are pretty on point, especially pointing out, like Grok did, that he's probably going to be the starting nickel. He's going to compete for that position and likely win. So David Walker, again, down with that torn ACL, out for the season. But how would he have done? Grok predicts that Walker would have likely in this case, serve as a rotational player, which is correct. He's, again, behind Yaya Diaby, Hassan Reddick. Possibly he would have been behind Chris Braswell, competing with Anthony Nelson also. Contributing on passing downs and special teams, he could record a few sacks as a rookie, setting the stage for a larger role with further development. So he's a guy who now is going to have to basically watch from the sidelines, learn the defense while rehabbing from his injury. Let's go now to 5th round draft pick Elijah Roberts. So Grok predicts in 2025, his prediction, Roberts is expected to contribute on special teams and as a rotational defensive lineman. With limited snaps in his rookie year, he has the potential to grow into a solid run stopper as he gains experience. So again, out of a 5th round pick, you're not expecting much. At a 5th round defensive lineman, he's a guy who they're going to have develop and grow. He's going to get some reps, but he's not going to get the bulk of the reps. He's going to get maybe 15% of the reps. I'm assuming somewhere around that. So he won't play much unless you get a lot of injuries on defensive line. But he'll be a player who he might show flashes in his rookie year. And now let's get to one of the fan favorites throughout camp, and one of my favorites, seeing how he performed on the field. Tez Johnson, 7th round draft pick out of Oregon. So 2025 season prediction, Johnson will likely see limited offensive snaps. That is correct. Primarily serving as a backup and special teams player. Again, I believe he's going to make the most of his impact as a special team player, as the punt returner for the Buccaneers. He could surprise with a few big plays, especially in the return game, if given the chance. So I fully agree with that one. So I'm excited to see pretty soon what the real Madden ratings are for each of the Buccaneers draft picks and how close Grok actually got to, predicting this. Bucs fans, thank you guys for watching this video. Before I leave, I wanted to give a quick shout out to Mr. Bucs Nation. In day number 3 of training camp, the Buccaneers had this Gus Swayze Baker Mayfield lookalike contest. If you remember the Amazon show where Baker Mayfield is in a disguise, and Mr. Bucs Nation, James, won the competition. He was in such a good disguise, I didn't even realize it was him. So go watch that video where he's putting on the outfit and he's going to Buccaneers training camp and the aftermath of all that stuff. I'll put the link in the description. Thank you guys again for watching this video. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please hit the subscribe button so you're notified every single time that I upload a video. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys next time. I'm Daniel Morales signing out.